From the twisty mountains of northern Italy to commuting to the San Marino Grand Prix at Misano, I've spent 2 weeks testing the Ducati Multistrada V2 S.
Oh, buddy, she's going out too wide. I love the speed. That's it. Okay.
That was a Ducati from the 1990s, a V-twin with Desmo valves falling over up the Stelvio Pass. Bike and rider were uninjured. We were back on the road moments later, with me pondering the thought that can any Ducati V-twin, which doesn't have Desmo-operated valves, really have the same soul that we've come to love from Ducati? More on that later, but for the moment, let's have a look at what the Multistrada V2 S really is. Ducati build some of the fastest, meanest motorcycles in the world. Their Street Fighters and the Panigales are absolute rocket ships, some of them producing over 200 horsepower. This is not one of them. This, on the other hand, is the Multistrada V2, and you can argue this is the sensible Ducati buyer's bike of choice because it only produces 115 horsepower, which is more than enough to get you in a lot of trouble, but not so much that it tears up tyres like they are confetti. No, the Multistrada V2 is powered by the new Desmo-less V-twin, 900 odd cc's, and in this touring spec one, which comes with the Panniers, it's priced at a little over 30,000 Australian dollars. In this video, I'll be going through some of the specifications and the features of the machine. However, if you just want to find out the conclusion, jump to the last minute or so of the video. The engine on this bike is built for mid-range. It's the bottom end up to about 3,000 RPM is adequate, but from 3,000 to the red line at 10,000, there is heaps of power and torque, given that it's a bike that only produces 115 horsepower. However, up the Stelvio, down the Stelvio and back again, guess what? Didn't really get overtaken by too many people. None, in fact, except when we were actually stopped. So there's plenty of power, there's plenty of torque. If you want a bike that goes really fast, want to take it on racetracks, sure, the new V2 is not for you. But if you ride solo and you want to carry a load and you versatile style riding, you want to go to different places, this is a bike that will leave a lot of money in the bank compared to that top range of Ducati Multistradas and the latest BMWs and things like that. And with that money, you could buy an awful lot of tyres and see an awful lot of the country or the world. As a Multistrada, it can be taken on different types of roads. Strada meaning road. There's enduro mode, which is really for dirt roads and low grip surfaces. There is touring mode, which is what we've used it in most of the time. There's sport mode and there's rain. Hasn't rained yet, so we haven't bothered using that one. And we did the Stelvio Pass during this test of this bike. The Stelvio Pass is one of the most famous roads in Italy and the world, and I used sport mode through there to get the cracking good throttle. Because if there's one thing about Ducati's Multistradas, they are very versatile. You can do an awful lot with them, and they lap it up, and you can have a lot of fun. Now, as a touring motorcycle, it's got a good screen, it's got some weather protection, it's very comfortable with its adventure bike riding position, and this one comes with panniers, which led us to our next problem, was it only came with 2 panniers. The top box is very much an optional extra and unfortunately wasn't available when we picked up this bike. That meant we were trying to either jam everything into 2 panniers, and then we kind of discovered that the right-hand pannier is only about 2/3 the size of the left-hand one, because the high pipe on this side means that you can't actually have a normal conventional pannier on the bike. Could go to the aluminium panniers, but they cost a hell of a lot more and look a bit weird on these models as far as I'm concerned. And there's no rack as standard, there's just a small little area where it's actually designed to take a rack that you then put something else on top of. So we made do, we bought another bag and we made it fit. A little bit more awkward than we would have liked, but you know, if we carry camera gear, that's what you have to do sometimes. Beyond that, there's now a USB port at the front to charge your phone that you can put on the handlebars nice and easily. There's a lot more to this bike as well. You can use the digital instruments to navigate by and operate your media. It's a modern motorcycle in that regard. Let's have a quick look at what it doesn't have. And the most glaring thing that it doesn't have is radar. There's no adaptive cruise control, there's no forward collision warnings, there's no blind spot monitoring. I like those things when they're available, but they add quite a bit of money to the cost of a motorcycle. The other thing this bike does have that most of those fancy machines don't have is one of these. It's called a key for people who don't quite recall what they are, but yes, no fob on this motorcycle. It uses a conventional key, and I didn't actually mind that because the panniers are relatively old school style and need a key to be operated all the time. You can't leave them closed and unlocked, you have to lock them, and they have to be locked to the motorcycle. So going from the ignition to the panniers and back to the ignition and the fuel cap not only saves you money in not having for the technology of the fob, but also it's just simpler and, to my mind, less likely to go wrong. Of course, there are people out there that prefer the fob, and if you wish to buy a motorcycle with a fob, knock yourself out. While I haven't ridden the older 950 V-twin Multistrada for a number of years, from memory, it feels very, very similar. Desmo valves are a wonderful, interesting and unique technology that Ducati's run for many years, and I'm glad they've dumped it for this bike. The service intervals on this bike have been doubled to 2 years for your oil changes and for many, many more kilometres for the things like valve clearance checks. So in the 2 years of the Australian warranty for this bike, there's a really good chance most owners will only have to get their bike serviced once, which will bring the cost of ownership down quite considerably compared to the old Desmo versions.
At the end of the day, the Ducati Multistrada V2 S is just a fantastic all-rounder. It's a heap of fun on a twisty mountain road. It's a great tourer, especially with the standard panniers on this touring model, which you can easily expand within a Ducati top box or tank bag. It'll carry a pillion in comfort, look sharp on the road and still tackle the occasional dirt section, or even something a bit more adventurous, without missing a beat. Now, does Ducati make bikes that do each of those individual jobs better? Of course they do, if you've got the budget. If you want pure sport, get a Panigale. If you want to get properly dirty, the Desert X, which shares the motor from this bike now in the new model, and it's going to be much better off-road with its 21-inch front wheel, spoked rims and crashable build, or at least more crashable. And if you're planning cross-continental two-up tours, a Multistrada V4 or V4 Rally might be the ultimate weapon. But those specialised bikes are often heavier, vastly more expensive and hyper-focused on one job. What you're buying with the V2S is the sweet spot. About 115 horsepower, a semi-active skyhook suspension setup, brilliant electronics, and a wet weight hovering around 225 kilos. I've long maintained that is a very, very good formula for a real-world, affordable motorcycle that suits many experienced riders. It's light enough, powerful enough and versatile enough to handle almost anything you throw at it, from track-style twisties to two-up touring, dirt detours and even the weekly commute. If you want a bike that lets you travel, carve up mountain passes, hit a gravel road just because it's there, and do it all in style, comfort, and with serious Italian charm, without paying big V4 money, this is it. The Multistrada V2 S doesn't do everything, but it comes remarkably close, and it all does exceptionally well with a Ducati soul. So it may not have that Desmo valvetrain I spoke about at the start of this video, but it doesn't need it. This Ducati, especially in this Ducati red, definitely has that Ducati soul.